we think it's our circumstance that causes a feeling. Like I got divorced,
Mm.
I'm feeling depressed. Whatever the circumstances, I feel this way. And I'm like, wait a second, there's something in between there. It's what you're thinking about the circumstance that's causing you to feel that way. I always
Yeah.
use the analogy of my husband and I in traffic, and we have totally different ways of looking at it. And he looks at traffic like, oh my gosh, that guy's an idiot, or he cut me off, or like he says the things and he feels frustrated. And I might be in the same situation and I'm like, oh, she's probably got to get to her daughter's recital. I always make up a story that's like somewhat nice, not like they need to go to the hospital or something. And I look at it that way, and it just makes me feel a little bit more compassion. I'm like, oh, well, you have to get somewhere faster than me. Not that I'm like, okay, cut me off, but I don't feel those negative feelings like he does. And it's all because of the thoughts that you choose to think about it.
Welcome to Female Voices, Life and Loss, a podcast dedicated to women from all walks of life. Whether you're navigating through loss, seeking growth, or simply looking for a place to feel understood, you've come to the right space. Each week, we provide compassionate guidance, share diverse stories, and offer practical advice to help you heal, grow, and thrive. No matter where you are on your journey, we're here to walk with you. Let's grow together.
Hello, friends, and welcome back to Female Voices Life and Loss. I'm Teresa Reiniger, and today I have a special guest with me today, and this is Cindy Richardson. And I know we'll have a really, really good conversation, and it'll be about grief and growth and everything between there. I met Cindy not too long ago, and now we are fellow podcasters.
Right.
And coaches and many other things. And so we're going to talk about just navigating things. We're going to talk about grief. We're going to talk about loss. We're going to talk about transition. So Cindy, welcome to the podcast.
Thank you. I'm so excited to be here.
Yes. It's going to be a great conversation. We've already, before we hit play or record, we've already had a great conversation. So it's like, okay, we better hit record before we talk about all the things we want to talk about.
Right. Exactly. Right.
So again, welcome. So Cindy, tell the audience a little bit about you, kind of your personal story, and then we'll dive into more about your story.
Okay. Yep. I'll give you a quick overview because, as with anyone's life, there's a lot of stuff.
Yeah.
Growing up, I had a pretty, crazy childhood, just with parents who had mental illness. So that was a little bit of a challenge for me. And then I knew I wanted to make a difference in people's lives, and I became a teacher. Absolutely loved it. I was an elementary teacher. I ended my career in second grade. I taught for 30 years, and it was my rock throughout all the things that have happened in my life. We all experience things in life where you're like, whoa, I didn't see that coming, or that change is not easy. And I went through 2 divorces, and I had issues with my mom and lots of things that we'll dive into. But the thing that was so stable for me was my teaching career. And it's where I felt secure and safe and wonderful. So that was great. And not to say teaching isn't hard. We all know that teaching is hard. And especially those little elementary school kids, they're so sweet, but it's a lot of energy. It takes a lot of energy. So as I really navigated getting to the point where I was like, okay, I can retire soon. What is that going to look like? I knew I was young enough to still, want to do something. And so I hired a life coach, and I hired her because I was like, what am I going to do next with my life? I want to see what's coming so that when I get to the point where I retire, I'm like, okay, got it. I've got a plan. I know what I'm doing. I feel good. The transition will be easy. Really no transition's easy, but I wanted it to be easier. easier. And it was easier because I did know where I was headed. And so when I coached with her, we really looked into all the paths and avenues and things that I could do. And I knew I wanted to continue to give and serve and help others. That's just my heart. And that's what I was used to with my career. And the more we coached, the more I was like, I want to do what you're doing. She was coaching me and I'm like, this is it. This is what I want to do. So that took me down the path after I retired of getting certified, doing all the things to become a coach. I now teach at my coaching school. So I help, new coaches become coaches and feel good about their coaching. I coach women in midlife. I do lots of programs and different things. So I'm in that world of helping women, just live better lives, no matter what stage, and always looking at their future as something that is full of possibility and hope, no matter what they've navigated before. So that's where I'm at right now. I'm coaching and loving it, and it's just been a great transition. We'll definitely get into all the details of everything, but it's kind of like a high level overview. Yeah.
That's awesome. So what do you do for fun?
I love to travel. My husband and I love to travel. He owns his own business and works from home, and can work from anywhere. And so can I, which is
Nice. Yeah.
so different from teaching, where you walk in the door and you're there until you leave. And, you're in charge of those little kiddos for the whole entire time. So this, now having my flexibility and freedom, is like a whole new world to me. It's like a never ending summer. As a teacher, you just love your summers. And I'm like, I have a never ending summer now. So that's really fun. So we do a lot of traveling and things like that. We love to do that. And between us, we have 6 kids. So there's always something going on, someone's birthday, someone's something. So it keeps us busy for sure.
Yeah. Well, and hopefully some of them don't live in the St. Louis area. I don't know if they do or not, but you could travel.
All of them
to
do.
them. Oh my gosh.
Yeah. They used to not, but they all came back, and now all 6 of them live here. So yeah.
Oh, how fortunate. That's amazing. I feel very fortunate and blessed that my daughters are very close to me. So I can see those grandkids and see them.
Yes.
I always say my grandkids, but I do want to see my daughters and their spouses as well. It's a lot more fun to see the littles, because they're constantly growing and changing.
Yeah.
As we get older, we're not doing as much of that, although we do that.
Yeah. We're in that world of helping women grow and change. Yeah, for sure.
We are. So I have to decide, where do we want to start? Well, let's start back where you mentioned some mental health and stuff with your mom.
Yep.
You mentioned also divorce, but let's dive into one or the other of those, because I know, doing what I do, there's a lot of grief with both of those.
Yeah.
So I'll let you start with whichever one, and then we'll dive into the other one.
Yeah. Yeah. It really was an interesting childhood and quite challenging, in the fact that both of my parents had issues that they were dealing with, mental issues and depression. My dad had Crohn's, and so his illnesses kind of created him to be depressed and things like that. So he had all of that going on. And my mom ended up being diagnosed with bipolar a little bit later. I was in my 20s. So it's like I knew something was going on with her, that was not right. And so that kind of made sense when she was diagnosed with that. And, kind of navigating that world of someone, especially as your mom, someone who's so up and so down. As a kid, it was very confusing. It was like, what is going on? I go over to so-and-so's house and it just seems like there's not all this chaos. And it really shined a light on, my family's different. This is different. And so as I navigated that as a kid, I did a lot of reflecting as a kid. I was always thinking about my future. It's so interesting, as I talk about it as adults. I mean, as a child, I did a lot of reflecting, and I always thought, I want this in my future. I don't want this in my future. This is how I want to be a mom. This is how I don't want to be a mom. So I was always kind of evaluating things. And I mean, there was a lot to navigate with 2 parents that had these issues, especially my mom. So I knew that I wanted to learn and grow and have a family that felt good and safe and all the wonderful things that I didn't necessarily have. And it was only because my parents were in this situation where, if they didn't have these issues, it would have been a whole different thing. So, but I had to do a lot of work around getting to that place as well, because, when you see these differences in your life compared to others' lives, you're like, wait a second, that's not fair. That's not fair that they have these family dinners and these wonderful things, and they go on vacations and they do all the things that seem so nice and normal and loving. And it's like, oh, wow, I do have it really different, So when you start seeing that contrast, then it's like really obvious that something is off. So there's a lot of lessons that I learned throughout that we can totally talk about. But the main being, I knew from the experience of my mom and her depression, and ultimately it got the best of her, and she did take her life when I was in my 40s, and that in itself was so confusing. She had tried multiple times, which, as a daughter, as a child of someone who is going through that, absolutely, you have the compassion and you're like, oh my gosh, what can I do to help? But at the same time, it's confusing, and there's a lot of anger and frustration, and what could I have done, and why didn't you try? All the things that come up when you have something like that. So learning to navigate it was something that I leaned on my counselor, and I'm like, I need help to get through this. And the whole grief process, as you know, is can be a long one. But you just got to stick in there and keep working, and ultimately using your experiences to be a better person, So
I love your learning throughout all of that, and knowing what you didn't want, and then ultimately what you did want.
Yes.
And I think that's important that we emphasize that, because many, many times people grow up in a home, and it's all they know is how their home is. And so they assume, well, this is how we do it. And for you, going to other homes to see this is not normal. So I think that is important for people to know, that you can change.
Yes.
You don't have to stay in what life or generations have shown you.
Yeah.
Which is super, super important. And the grief with suicide, and mental health both together, is really a difficult journey. And I'm so glad that you sought, support on that. A lot of times people really struggle with the suicide, like, what could I have done? I should have seen, I should have.
Yes.
I could have.
Absolutely.
And, it's important to know that, not to feel bad about that, not to feel, a lot of people use the word guilt, not to feel that way. It was that person's decision.
Yes, absolutely.
What they wanted to do. I'm sure there were times that you tried to do things and all of that. So it's important that you work through that. And really, I know when we talked before, when you sent me information, that forgiveness really of yourself is super important, and forgiveness of that person as well. And I don't think they always realized how difficult that is for the family after. So I'm so glad that you had support, or you sought out support for that, for sure.
And that's key right there. It's we all have these experiences in life where it's like, oh, this is really hard. Like, I don't know if I can get through this on my own. And if we feel that way, it's okay. Get the help. And you and I are big advocates for that, where it's like, yes, get the support and the help that you need, because may not have the tools to navigate it on your own. And like, just talking to someone and me expressing how I felt, and my counselor, offering me different ways of looking at it, offering tools to help with that forgiveness, all of those things, I definitely couldn't have done it on my own. As much as I had the awareness as a child that something was off, and I knew this wasn't right as far as like normal, quote unquote, but I still needed help navigating and getting through it. So I think that's a big thing for everyone to realize, that asking for help is the best thing that you can do for yourself.
Absolutely. Really, in all things,
All things.
especially
All
for
things.
women. I'm part of what we call the compassionate ministry at my church, and I met with a family this morning, and she said, they say God only gives you what you can handle. She said, I guess God thinks I can handle this, either that or God doesn't like me. And I said, well, I'm pretty sure God loves you.
Yeah.
So I'm pretty sure he believes that you can handle this.
Yes.
And you may not feel that you can handle it. And I want to make sure that God knows that you can handle this also with support of other people. So
Yes.
it's super important that you lean on other people and you reach out for that support, especially when those things are difficult, with grief or other things, just life changes.
Yeah.
That you ask for help. And people, especially women, we want to help each other.
Absolutely.
So just ask for it.
Yep.
I think we're getting a little better at that as a society, as women.
Yeah.
But we're strong. We're strong.
Yeah.
We could do this. We don't.
Exactly.
All that
Yeah.
comes with women.
Yes, it's exactly
So,
right.
yeah.
And it's so common now to hear people talk about my counselor, my therapist, my coach, all the things. So I love that that's out there more. Like, yes, this is what we do. We lean on each other and we get professional help when we need it. We lean on our girlfriends. We talk about the things that we need guidance and direction with. And that's a good thing. So I'm happy about that. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. So then let's go into divorce, because those are additionally just as difficult. There's tremendous grief.
Yep.
Because when you got married, that you didn't see that vision,
right,
of, oh, I'm going to be married, then I'm going to get divorced, and I'm going to deal with all this, so that there's a lot of grief within that too.
Yeah.
And you did that a couple times.
Well, yes. Yeah. I did.
Oh,
I'll share.
girl.
I navigated a lot, and I did get married quite young and stayed with my husband of my 3 children for 17 years, and a lot going on, but ultimately it was alcoholism that caused a lot of the destruction and the things in our marriage that probably wouldn't have been there without that. So that was challenging, because having the experience of my childhood and all of those challenges, and having the mindset of, I'm going to make my future so much better, which is a great vision. It's a great vision. But then when things were happening in my marriage, I didn't give up. I was like, nope, not giving up. Let's go to this Bible study. Let's go to this counselor. Let's do this thing, which was great. And they were somewhat Band-Aids on issues. But in the long run, the deeper issues that he had, just won. And ultimately our marriage ended. And it was challenging, because having to navigate that, and really at that time, that was when my mom was getting at her worst. So I was like having all these things go on, and, I needed the support, and I was seeing a counselor at that time. Actually, it was my husband and I's counselor together. And then I just continued to see her. So she knew what was going on, and it felt like, oh, you're my person. Like, you know what's going on in my life. But when you have these big things like that, it's like, oh my gosh, how am I going to move forward? And my identity at that time was like, I'm a mom. I'm a wife. I'm good at this. This is what I've always wanted to do. I don't want to give this up. No matter all of these kind of bad things that are happening, no, we'll get through it. Let's figure this out. Let's do whatever. And ultimately it wasn't my choice. So then someone else is kind of in charge of your life. Basically, that's how it felt. Like you're making the decision for my life and our kids' life, so that was really, really hard to, grieve the loss of what I wanted my life to be. Even though the marriage wasn't great because of all the things going on, I still was like, no, but I'm a married person, and we're a family, and we can get through anything.
Yeah.
And I didn't have the ability to do that because of someone else's decision. So yeah, that was a really challenging time in my life, and navigating stuff like that. It's like, whoa,
Yeah.
really tough.
And I would just say, with, because you mentioned this, that is the father of your children. So
Yeah.
the fact that there are children,
Yes.
I think you fight even harder
100%.
to
Yes.
hold it together
Yeah.
at all costs for them,
Yep.
because we've all seen, heard, experienced how difficult it can be for children
Yeah.
when the parents are divorced or not together. So
Yeah.
we as women, we just do everything possible to hold that together, and it's not
Yeah.
always the best for us.
Yeah. Yeah. And it's so true, because when my husband left and I was like, okay, well, I guess that's happening. So I don't have a choice there.
Yeah.
I did have a choice how I was going to move forward with it.
Yeah.
So I knew, as I worked through it with my counselor, I'm like, I don't like this situation. I don't like it for my children, myself, but I want to do this in a way, like you said, that's best for my kids. And I made the decision. It was a hard decision, because he did some very hurtful things at the end that, I could have just been like, I'm not talking to you for the rest of my life, but that's not how it goes with kids. That was when my kids were in all their sports, and I was like, okay, this is between my ex and I'm going to do everything to avoid my kids being in the middle of things. So like, we would sit together at sporting events, like right from the start. Even when I was the most hurt, I'm like, I'm just going to
That's
do
awesome.
this. And that was the way for me to handle it, because I felt better because I was doing that for my kids. It gave me, I don't know if you would, it gave me a purpose. It gave me a reason to make things as smooth as I could, because that benefited my kids. So,
Sure.
so in the end, it was a very, nice, calm divorce, all the things. It was probably as good as it could have been, I'll share that. So, I'm very happy in that decision that, you may get thrown terrible things in life, and it's like, okay, now what are you going to do about it? And that's on you. That was on me. And so those are the choices that I made. And I feel good about them, because my kids just felt comfortable throughout the whole, as comfortable as they could. I'm not saying it was easy for them, but they didn't have to go through any of the weird stuff, like my parents aren't sitting together, or all the stuff that can happen. And I understand. I'm not knocking anybody who's choosing that route, because I know of the pain, but it helped navigating it like that.
Yeah. And I think it's very easy that you could slip into where this happens all the time. Like, the kids are stuck in the middle.
Yeah.
And mom is complaining about dad, and dad is complaining about mom, and they're hearing both sides, and then they have to navigate that.
Yeah.
Which I think is really hard. And I can see, just from what I do, I can see that, because there's grief within that. There's this awful grieving time, this anger, this all of this stuff. And so I can very easily see where things would, not intentionally all the time, I don't think, but it just slips out. Like, you are just such heightened emotions that those things can happen. And I think it takes a lot to keep all of that in control.
Yeah.
When
it really
gets
does.
involved.
It does.
you
I
know.
mean, at first, I remember when he would come and see the kids, and they stayed with me all the time. But he would come, take them out to dinner or whatever. I would just have to stay upstairs. I'm like, the anger, like you said, because that's part of the process. I was like, I'm so angry. There's no way I can even look at you, or it's not going to be good. I'm not going to say anything kind. So I was like, I can't. So I gave myself those parameters where I'm like, well, when he would come to get the kids, I'm like, I can't be around yet, until I got to the point where I was like,
Right.
okay, your presence, I can be around you. But you know, with everything, even grieving, even loss, it's like, it's such a process. You know, you go
Yeah.
through all the things and you might think you're over something, and then it comes back
Mhm.
again, and you're like, oh, I thought I've dealt with that. And here it is back again, you know? So
Right.
I'm sure the work that you do with your clients,
Yeah.
you know,
Yeah.
it's kind of never ending process at times.
Yeah. Yeah. I think many times too, it will resurface. And I think many times it just depends on how frequently it resurfaces and how those emotions, how intense they are. Because
Yeah.
many times we don't really work through them. We want to push them
Mhm.
down and hold them down, and they will eventually
Oh, yeah.
erupt.
Mhm.
And so I think sometimes that's when they come back again. It's like, yeah, didn't totally deal with this,
Yeah.
before, and now it's surfacing again because of a trigger of some sort or some situation
Mhm.
that happened. And so it's just, for me, I work with people like, okay, well, what happened kind of before that we
Mhm.
need to continue? Like, what's going on that we need to continue to work through,
Yeah.
so that that is not a constant thing that you're
Yeah.
feeling or doing. So
Yeah. Yeah.
um, I like to look at those as when that happens. Let's talk about it. This is a learning, and
Mhm.
what can we learn from this so that
Yeah.
um, this doesn't surface as heightened as
Yeah.
it has this time.
Yeah.
It may come again for sure, because we will grieve those
Mhm.
things for the rest of our life. They're part of who we are. They're within us.
Mhm.
Um, it's just we can decide,
Mhm.
and I'll say that again, we can decide how heightened those
Yeah.
emotions will be.
Yeah.
And they don't have to always be super heightened. We can work
Mhm.
through that.
Yeah.
For
Yeah,
sure.
and it's all about your mindset and how you look at
For
things,
sure.
and how, you know, what you intentionally think about it, that's the work that I do with my clients, probably very similar to you, where it's like, what do you want to think about this? What do
Mm-hmm.
you want to make this mean about you? Like, it's your choice. You can, in your mind, make this mean whatever you want. And if it's all the negative stuff, then you're going to be stuck there. If it's,
Yep.
wait a second, I can learn from this. In my next relationship, I'm looking for XYZ, or I'm not allowing this certain thing. So I love that you said that it's about, what can you learn from it? Like, what can you take away? Because if
Mm-hmm.
you can look at any experience, good or bad, as, oh wow, I can still learn from this no matter what, and then move on to be a better person, well, then that's going to help me get through it,
Right.
because then you look at, I think about it this way. You look at it like, all right, if I can learn something, I'm going to be a better person, and then my future is going to be better. So that
Mm-hmm.
possibility feels so good. And then you're like in a better state, in a better mindset.
Yeah.
So
And all relationships around you will be better.
yeah, yeah,
It affects
exactly.
everything.
Absolutely.
And it starts with you.
Yeah.
So when women feel that stuck
Mm.
in whatever the transition is, what's one of the first questions of reflection? Because we're on this. I'm like, I'm going to ask
Yeah.
this question.
Yeah, yeah. I love it.
That you guide them to
Yeah,
really explore that.
yeah. My most favorite question is, if we're identifying an area where someone has a limiting belief, they're stuck in any way, there's a circumstance and they're making it mean something. I ask, what are you making this mean? Like, what are you making this
Mm-hmm.
mean?
Mm-hmm.
There's a story there. There's a story.
Yeah.
Let's get into the story. And then it's like, how can we shift how you're looking at it? And and just a little, shift it in a way that feels believable. We're not going from like, oh my gosh, my life is amazing. We're not doing that. We're just shifting it just a little bit to empower you to feel better. I love the quote by Wayne Dyer. It's change the way you look at things and the things you look at change. Like the situation isn't changed, but it's the way that you look at it makes it feel so different. So I do a lot of that mindset work and that thought work where we get into the actual thoughts you're thinking. Because if you're feeling stuck or anything you're feeling, it's all because of how you're thinking. And so often as women, I just had a coaching conversation today. We think it's our circumstance that cause a feeling. Like I got divorced, I'm feeling depressed. Whatever the circumstance is, I feel this way. And I'm like, wait a second, there's something in between there. It's what you're thinking about the circumstance that's causing you to feel that way. I always use the analogy of my husband and I in traffic, and we have totally different ways of looking at it. And he looks at traffic like, oh my gosh, that guy's an idiot, or he cut me off, or like he says the things and he feels frustrated. And I might be in the same situation and I'm like, oh, she's probably got to get to her daughter's recital. I always make up a story that's like somewhat nice, not like they need to go to the hospital or something. And I look at it that way, and it just makes me feel a little bit more compassion. I'm like, oh, well, you have to get somewhere faster than me. Not that I'm like, okay, cut me off, but I don't feel those negative feelings like he does. And it's all because of the thoughts that you choose to think about it. So you can intentionally, especially if you're going through something like grief and loss and all of the things, you can intentionally decide how you want to look at it. And what you want to think about it. Like even the whole situation with my divorce, I could make an intentional thought like, yeah, this is painful, but I've learned so much that moving forward, my life is going to be better. Like even just focusing on that thought instantly makes me feel better. So when women come to me and they're stuck, that's the work that we do to get them to realize, oh, I'm in charge of how I'm feeling because I'm in charge of how I'm thinking. So the whole thing feels empowering. And then you have better actions and results because of it. So that's where I focus a lot in my work.
Yeah. I was laughing at that because that's exactly the same scenario in my car with my husband. Same words. Idiot.
Very common.
Oh my God. That's exactly what he says.
Yeah.
I'm like, oh.
Right.
And even all these years that I have, kind of tried to mindfully switch his thinking.
Yes.
Because I can't do it. It's got to be him.
Yeah. Well, that really proves that the power of our thoughts. And if you practice a certain way of thinking over and over and over again, not only is it a belief is just a thought you've practiced thinking over and over, but it's so like right there that you got to do the work to kind of erase that thinking. But
yeah,
pretty ingrained.
Yeah. Well, let's move into the transition from teaching to what you're doing now, because that's kind of an identity, a real shift. And I'm so glad that and I want to reiterate that here with women, like you didn't just decide one day. You knew it was coming and you really worked towards an easier transition.
Yeah. I did not realize how challenging that transition would be, because when you identify as someone for 30 years and then that's gone, like I'm not a teacher anymore. Like that's not me, anymore. Exactly. So that in itself was like, oh gosh, that feels weird. But then when I moved into coaching, which like skill wise and the things that I did felt very similar. Like I would coach my students. I would talk about growth mindset versus fixed mindset. We'd work on their confidence. We'd set goals. I do all the academic things, but I did a lot of work around that. So the stuff that I do with women, very similar to the work that I did with my students. So that felt really natural. But what really kind of surprised me in that whole transition was oh, wait, I was a teacher and now the coach part felt okay. Like, I'm like,
Yeah.
okay, that feels similar. But the business owner, entrepreneur, all that I was like, wait, I have to wrap my head around that. Like, that means I have to put myself out there. That means I have to go out and say, hey, I'm a life coach. Like, here are my services.
Mm-hmm.
Hey, this is what I'm offering. Would you like, me to coach you, kind of thing. So you're putting yourself out there in a way. I put myself out
Mm-hmm.
there in the way that I was not used to before. My second graders came to me. Like, I didn't have to market and sell, and I didn't have to do any of that. Guaranteed 18 to 20 little clients coming to me every single year. That felt so good. So that part was probably the most challenging because I felt that loss of security and safety and being a teacher, and this is what I do, and this is my little world. And like I shared at the very beginning, when I had, the passing of my mom and the divorce and all of the hard things, my job was my security. I'm like, no matter what, I have my job. I stayed in the house where my kids grew up. I was like, thank you, job, for like the safe place for me to come. My coworkers were so supportive. So all of that was like, okay, that's my safety. And then now I'm heading into all this new stuff. And there was such loss in the fact that I was so comfortable and now I'm so not, and now I'm doing things that I'm like, I never like got on social media and said, hey, da, 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 like nothing. I did nothing like that. So it was a big shift for me. And one that I got a lot of coaching around. So we would coach as coaches in our coaching school, we would coach each other. And I'm like, I need help with this. I need help with just, the loss of my identity. And then also like how to move into this new identity where it did genuinely feel like me. Like, I'm not this imposter who's like, hey, I'm a business owner, I'm an entrepreneur. And then I'm like, no, I'm really not, so there was a lot of thought work that had to go into that, a lot of coaching, all of that stuff, which was not easy for me. So
Yeah.
it was a
Yeah.
journey.
It is. And I think that happens many, many times. I don't know how often. There's many, many books that reference that
Yeah.
we want to do a business and we're
Mhm.
good at it, whether it's coaching or a plumber or electrician, we're good at that.
Yep.
And the business piece, not
Yeah.
so much. And that's when the businesses don't survive,
Yeah.
because people don't always think about all of those pieces that have to be
Yes.
there, that have to be learned as well. And
Yeah.
putting yourself out there,
Oh,
promoting yourself.
yeah.
Yeah. I thankfully learned that a long time ago.
Mhm.
And so when I came into being a grief specialist, a grief coach,
Yeah.
that was easier, I
Yeah.
would say, for me.
Okay.
And I'm still learning.
Yep.
I'm still learning. It's like just even here in the St. Louis area, everyone should know by now
Hmm.
that what I do, and they don't.
Right.
So it's like,
Yeah.
why don't you know? I've been out there, I've been sharing it. It's on social media. It's like, oh no, I
Yeah.
run into people every day like, you do what?
Yep.
So it's a constant. That's
Yeah.
for sure. Putting yourself out there,
Mhm.
for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah.
there is, I mean, I know you talk about the grief and the loss and things, and there's so many things and changes in life that can cause that. And you think, oh, switching
Yeah.
careers, that's not that big of a deal. But it
Oh.
really is. And it goes back to the theme of, hey, get the guidance, get the help, get the support that you need to navigate the transition so you don't
Mhm.
just give up. Like you said,
Mhm.
so many entrepreneurs, they might have the idea for the product or the service or the offer or whatever, but the business part of it, it's like, oh, so get the support you need. I mean, that's in anything you're going through.
Mhm.
It's like, don't give up, just get the support you need. And then
Yeah.
you'll feel more and more comfortable. So it's not so like totally out of your comfort zone. You're like, okay, I'm dipping my toe in now. I feel better than I feel so much better now. But at the beginning of my career as a coach, I was like, this is like way out of my comfort zone. way out of my comfort zone. I heard my daughter, she is a chiropractor now, when she quit her marketing job, and she's like, Mom, I want to be a chiropractor. So she went to Logan, and there was like this kickoff speech welcoming all the new students. And this one student gave a speech. So it was great. The one thing that she said that I remembered, and I told my daughter, I'm like, do not forget that sentence. And that was, be comfortable with being uncomfortable.
Sure.
And it's like, oh gosh, nobody wants to do that, but it's so valuable. It's like, well, that feeling of discomfort, just get used to it. It's not going to go away. You're going to learn something. You're going to navigate something else where it's like, oh, that's uncomfortable. And if you are okay with being uncomfortable and you start getting more and more comfortable, then you're like, I can do anything. Like, I can do this. I'm not saying it's going to be easy, but you can do it,
Yeah.
So,
Yeah. And I think in just life in general,
yeah,
we should never get to the point where we're comfortable in all
yeah,
things. We might get
yeah,
comfortable with some things, but then there should be something else, because that's just a sign of growth,
yeah,
of learning more and doing more.
yeah,
I'm one that I always want to be doing that, for sure, a constant learner. So I do put myself in uncomfortable
yeah,
situations, like being on a radio station yesterday promoting my bereaved Mother's Day. And when this comes out, this will be after the fact. But it's like, that's uncomfortable. And
yeah,
I'm getting ready to go on a TV show to do the same. And I'm like, oh my goodness, what was I thinking?
yeah,
And I'm excited about it, though.
yeah,
Like, it's going to push me way out of where I would like to be. And I think in all things are hard,
yeah,
and I love when you said, working through your mom's mental health, your parents' mental health, and the divorces, and just reframing or putting that mindset out there that this is hard.
yeah,
But we have to add to that.
yes,
I'm learning from it. I'm growing from this. It's going to take me to many wonderful places, that we don't just end our thought process with, this is hard.
yeah,
Acknowledge that it's hard, for
yeah,
sure, but then do more. Make sure you're telling yourself in that mindset that all of that is shifted from how hard things are.
yeah, yeah,
And that things suck sometimes, really, really bad things that happen to us.
yeah. And it
But
is
moving
important.
up.
You're right. It is important to acknowledge that and not just like gloss over it. Like, this is not, absolutely acknowledge it,
Yeah.
but don't stay stuck in it, or
No.
otherwise you'll feel like a victim in it. And then nobody wants to feel like a victim.
No.
We don't mean to feel like a victim if we do, but it's like nobody wants to stay there, because there's so much possibility. There's so much hope. There's so much growth. There's so much that can come out of it. And it's like, let's just look up a little bit and see where it can take you. And then it's like, oh, okay, feels better. That feels better. So,
yeah. And that it was all a piece of what you shared earlier.
yeah.
It's our stories. They are our stories. They're a piece of our story.
Yeah.
And our story's not over.
Yeah. Yeah.
So rewriting, adding to that story, looking at things a little differently.
Yeah.
In our story, shifting that mindset is super important. And I think you're right that we both kind of work in that world to make sure that mindset, self-talk, all of those things are super important to be strong, healthy people.
Yeah.
And not
Absolutely.
being stuck, for sure. Nothing worse than being stuck in the negativity, for sure.
Not a good feeling.
No. So I wanted to ask you, before we end this episode, to really speak directly to those women that are listening today that might feel like, they've lost themselves, because you work with that midlife group.
Yeah.
So speak to those women that are feeling lost. They're not sure what to do. Could be grief. It could be caregiving for someone. It could be a transition. It could be many things.
Yeah.
What would you like to say to them?
Yeah, I think when we're in these situations where we feel stuck or we feel like, oh, here is my circumstance, it's so hard, then that's where we focus. That's where we look.
Mhm.
That's where our eyes are. And what I would love to offer is, you know, look, really think about, yes, I am here right now, but where do I want to be? And then creating a vision of where you want to be, even if it's like you are brainstorming, you're creating this whole story, how you want your life to look. And then be excited about the possibility that if you thought of that, if you created that in your mind, you can create that in your life. I mean, anything is possible. It's
Yeah.
just we look so much at the now and the here and now in our circumstances that it kind of consumes us. And we're like, hold on, if I just look up and I really envision a life that I want, what does that look like? What does that sound like? What am I doing in my day to day? I help
Mhm.
women with creating a vision. And when you have a vision, then you have like this point of moving towards that is feels exciting. It's like, yeah, I can create. I thought of that. That's possible. It's truly possible in the world. If I thought of that and it's possible for other people, it's possible for me. And that's another thing that I help my clients with is if you can't really visualize yourself doing it, then I want you to see if you can find anyone who's in a similar, like maybe similar age, similar circumstance, whatever, and they kind of have what you want. And then I call them expanders. Find your expanders, people
Mhm.
who are doing what you want to do, and then use those as possibility. Like, there's
Mhm.
my proof right there that
Yeah.
I can have this amazing life. And so if you're stuck, you can always do things like that to offer yourself hope and offer yourself inspiration with other people. And it's fun. It's fun to do that. So
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah.
just
Well,
a different way
thanks.
to look at it. Yeah.
Thanks for sharing all that with the audience for
Yeah.
sure. Well, this has been a wonderful, wonderful conversation.
Yeah.
Um, and I would just share, if you would share, if someone and resonates with you, would like to work with you as a life coach, if they're a midlife and that's something, if you would share real quick, how do they get in touch with you?
Yep. The best way is either through my website at cindyrichardsoncoaching.com, or I'm also on Instagram at Cindy Richardson Coaching. So both places are the same name, so it's pretty easy to find me. And yeah, I
Yeah.
offer all kinds of, even a clarity call where it's like we talk about where you are now and create that
Mhm.
vision of where you want to be. So yeah, pretty easy to get a hold of.
Awesome. So yeah, and of course that will all be in the show notes. So thank you
Perfect.
so much
Yeah.
for talking with me. It's always just such an inspiration for other people to
Yeah.
hear
Yeah.
where people have been, what they've worked through, through grief, through life transitions, through all of those things, to remind them that they're not alone. And
Yes.
you talked about this. Look for someone else that
Mhm.
has been similar, and there's hope there for
Yeah.
sure. And then for like Loena and I, if there's something, we're always here to support anyone that those women that are looking for support on their journey.
Yeah.
Reach out to us. We'd love to connect with you for
Yeah.
sure and support you. There's
Yeah.
nothing more than, like we talked about earlier in this episode, reach out, get support. Don't get stuck. Don't try to do it alone. Reach out for that support.
Yeah.
So again, thank you. Thank you, thank you, thank
Yeah.
you
Thanks
so
for
much
having me.
for
This was a
sharing.
great
You are
conversation.
so, yes, it was. So
Yeah.
thanks so much.
Thanks.
Thank you for joining us on this episode of Female Voices Life and Loss. We hope today's conversation brought you comfort, insight, and a sense of community. Remember, you're not alone in this journey. Be sure to subscribe so you don't miss any future episodes. And if you found this episode helpful, please share it with others who might need it. Stay connected, stay resilient, and until next time, keep growing and healing.